skip it. See it or skip it. See it or skip it.
Welcome to a new episode of See It or Skip It. We have so much to talk about, a smorgasbord of streaming shows that are, in my opinion, Emmy-worthy, plus the unicorn movie to rival all unicorn movies. I'm your host, Patrick Beatty, and I am joined by a very special guest that you might see on Good Things Utah every once in a while for Friday Flicks. It's film critic Tracy Mangum. How's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm
Excellent.
excited to talk about this stuff.
And I love the fact that you use the word smorgasbord. That is a word that is not used nearly enough in polite society, so well done.
I'm glad that I'm able to feature the shirts for this show. Your shirts specifically. Do we need to shout them out so they can start sponsoring you?
Sure. Roosevelts.com, RSVLTS.
Get ready for your Instagram to be spammed with that
Oh, for sure. They do a really good job at marketing, but they do fun different genre shirts.
Look at this shirt here. You've got the Pixar
balls
right?
today, yeah.
Very cool. I love all of the different
We've got a lot of
patterns.
heavy dramas to deal with today, so I figured we'd do something a little lighter in the wardrobe department.
Take the happy with the shocking, sad medical drama.
Exactly, yes.
But first, let's talk about magic with the death of a unicorn.
Yes.
So this is from A24. This is starring Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd. They're a couple. They're not a couple. They're a family that are basically going on this trip where he's hoping to get a promotion for being there, for being a good soldier for this very wealthy family. But on the way, they hit this mythical beast that may or may not be a unicorn.
His boss is a very, very rich and powerful individual that owns his own game reserve.
Yes, played by Richard E. Grant.
But Richard E. Grant is fantastic. Like you said, Paul Rudd, Jenna Ortega. It's probably only the second unicorn film I can think of outside of The Last Unicorn, the animated film back in the day. So
I can't believe you brought it. Charlie the Unicorn.
I don't know Charlie the
YouTube.
Unicorn. Oh, okay.
Oh, man. Okay. I guess that was
drawing a blank. Sorry, I'm old.
Okay. The people in the booth will know it. And maybe like one YouTuber will get that
That's
one.
it. We got that reference. Yeah.
But you're right. There's not a lot of unicorn-centric stuff. Maybe Harry Potter.
Yeah, and then, of course, the unicorn made a cameo in the Cabin. What's the horror film?
Cabin in the Woods?
Cabin in the Woods, thank you. I was going to say The Last Cabin on the Left. I knew that was wrong. Cabin in the Woods. The unicorn makes an appearance at the moment there. So.
Now, this isn't a PG unicorn. We're talking a rated R story. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of blood. And you're basically seeing just mayhem. To me, this feels like if somebody took a lot of LSD and tried to recap Jurassic Park to someone.
I could see that, yeah. After having read like some fantasy novels, that type of thing. Yeah, it starts off, it's got kind of a daddy-daughter dynamic to it, and then he hits the unicorn. They take the unicorn back to the lab, and then it turns out that the owner, the wealthy pharmacist, is a pharmacist, and so they're trying to find all the different body parts of the unicorn and how that can be used to advance science, but mostly advance their bottom line, their paycheck.
Right.
And so it's kind of a satire on the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry in America. It's got a lot of different ideas all kind of crammed into one movie. So
that was my complaint with this, because there's a lot of themes. It's definitely going against the oligarchs, and it's going against class warfare, all of that stuff. But for it to have so many things wrapped into this, I was noticing that it felt very surface level. There wasn't a lot of depth into what they were doing because they go right into the Jurassic Park unicorn type stuff. I do think that the performances are really well done. I think the standout we both agree with is Will Poulter, who is just completely transformed himself since Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but still has this funny bone that from Where the Millers still transcends.
The delivery of some of his lines are just laugh out loud funny. Paul Rudd does well. I thought Will Poulter did well. Jenna Ortega kind of gets lost in this movie, in my opinion. And again, I think it's because it was like so stuffed with different ideas and stuff that they kind of let her off to the side. How did you think about that?
Well, with Jenna Ortega, there will come a day when she's no longer playing a teenager full of angst and following goth trends. But it is not this day.
No, not yet, no.
And I think at this point, maybe she herself is a little tired of doing that similar thing. I'm excited for Wednesday season 2, and I do think that she's got a lot of heart and passion into that.
She's got a lot of talent, and it's not like she phoned in her performance here.
Just her character might not have had a lot.
The character wasn't as developed as I think she would. I think she probably did the best that she could with what was available to her.
That was a good point. So A24, are you gonna say this should be one you should check out in the theaters, or maybe wait?
I would wait on this one. I'm a big A24 fan, and one of the things I love about A24 is they will greenlight films that nobody else is going to make. If you go to Warner Brothers, you go to Disney, you go to anybody and say, I want to do a movie about a unicorn that gets hit by a car, is taken into a lab and experimented on, and then the two parent unicorns come and seek bloody revenge to try and get their child back. Nobody else is going to touch that movie. Yeah. And so I applaud A24. Even when they miss, it's still, I applaud them for doing what they do. This is one, though, that I don't think quite lives up to. I don't think you need to see it in the theater. I'm muddled on this one. It's a wait and see for me.
I think it is a see it in the theater for a crowd. Like if you're going with a group of friends, you can see past the story stuff that might be problematic and just have a little bit more fun with the slaughtering of stuff. But I totally agree with you. There's I don't know, when it comes dollar for dollar, if it's just you in the theater, you might not get the same reaction.
There was about 5 people in the theater last night, and so I think if you see it, but it was 4 o'clock on a Thursday. So I think if you see it this weekend in a full theater, you might have a better experience, yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what our viewers think, so let us know what you think about that. But we got to jump into streaming season, because wow, the Emmy Award contenders have shown up, and they're like giving 1-2 punches.
Oh, absolutely, and it's so funny because it used to be all the big heavy dramas were on regular over-the-air TV. And now the fact that we're getting these quality shows streaming is absolutely fantastic. It's a feast right now. Like, we are just so lucky to see the quality of these shows that are out right now. It's fantastic.
Yep. And what's great about our list here, we've got 4 more on these. We're going to start with Adolescence. This is a 4-part miniseries that is fascinating as much as it is challenging to watch. Not only because everything is shot in a continuous take and that the subject matter is so dark and realistic to the times that we're living in now, but they have found a way to immerse you into this oneer idea. Every episode is a complete single shot, single take, and they show you in the behind the scenes how they do it. It is insane. I think the performances in this is incredible. This is a story about a young boy who is accused of murdering another school classmate who's a girl, and the family dynamic as it is of being ripped apart. We see these stories of the victims of these situations, but we never really see the perspective of the family of the person being accused, the violent person.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that the filmmakers talked about in a lot of the behind the scenes, is they really wanted to explore that family dynamic. And like you said, this being a one-take shot, each episode is one take. And if somebody screws up, they're cutting and they're going back to one. Some of these they did up to 16 takes to do. Episode 3 is the episode that everybody is talking about, and rightly so, because of the performances. And the thing to note, this young boy that is in this series, this is his first major acting, and he goes, in this episode, goes the gamut from defiant to I'm too cool to be here, you can't touch me, to being angry, to being threatening, to being a sad little boy that's just, his world is imploding. I mean, the gamut that this kid has to cover, and the fact that, and if you know, there are several mistakes in the film. Like at one point, she said, or in the scene, she says to him, "You posted these pictures on Facebook," and it was actually Instagram. But the kid, and this is incredible because a lot of actors would have just kind of like froze right there. And he goes, "Do you mean Instagram? Did I scare you when I yelled at you a minute ago? Did I scare you so bad? Did I throw you off so bad that you've lost your groove?" Like the fact that he's able to roll with that and not screw up the take. It's incredible.
Right. Well, and the acting is such a delicate tightrope that you have to walk, but they're not really like sitting a camera in a room. They're working technically in insane moments where like they're literally switching from a walking shot with a steady cam to a drone going up in the air, which still, I've seen the footage. I don't believe that that's how they did it.
Even though I've seen it, I don't know how they did it. Yeah, they go from focusing on a car and then pulling back, and then they get onto another car. That car's following another car. Then they get off the car and move down the street to get onto another car to show up at the house. And then when they get to the house, the police are busting into the house. The camera follows them in. The mother starts to go up the stairs, and the cameraman has to take the camera and hold it like this and stretch his arm. And then they have another guy at the top of the stairs reaching down and grabbing that camera and continuing that shot. They can't see what they're shooting. They're doing this blind.
Yep.
And it's
insane.
just incredible.
I think this
But the story, that's the other thing.
That's
It's
what we
like,
need to discuss.
If it's technical, cool.
It's delving into themes of toxic masculinity. It's delving into social media diets and how you could be a parent doing everything right, and still there can be a tragedy happening where you don't even realize what your kid is seeing on social media, what other kids are showing them on social media, and how that can influence them in their life. And it's heartbreaking. The performances feel real, raw. I specifically want to shout out Stephen Graham, who leads the entire charge. Episode 3 is fantastic, but boy, when you follow this father as he goes through the realizations, the horrors, and then weirdly enough, the love and pure like just togetherness that he has for his family. It's just one of those things where I see it nominated for many. It's absolutely a see it for me.
Absolutely. This is a see it. It's on Netflix. 4 episodes. Each one's a little less than an hour, so you can binge this in a week, or a weekend, or even a night.
But pace yourself.
It's rough.
Maybe watch the next couple things that we're going to pitch, because it is a heavy thing to watch.
But I think it's very important, and it's a conversation that we need to have about how we're raising our young men.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's move into Severance. Now, this is Apple TV Plus, and we're on season 2 now. This just wrapped, I believe, last week.
Correct.
So we're not too far off from it. I had a chance to finish it. You are still
I'm about halfway.
5 more episodes in. Now, Severance, I don't even know how to explain how this show goes. Basically, there's an opportunity for people to switch half their brain, so when they go to work, they're a completely different person. When they come back from work, they don't remember anything that happened, because that person is still at that job and you are doing your normal day-to-day activities. But what happens when those people intersect? And what are the consequences of this job and what they're having you do through all those times? And how will you even know? Because you'll forget the minute that you go up the elevator. It's from Ben Stiller. We've got Adam Scott as the lead, and boy, this is such a surreal, crazy, but expertly written show.
Oh, yeah.
I have so much fun watching every episode.
Yeah, this is really smart sci-fi. It reminds me a lot of Alex Garland did a show on Hulu several years ago that kind of reminds me of that. In that, it's smart sci-fi, and weird things are going to happen. Like they work in this company with these weird hallways that seem to stretch on forever, and nobody really knows what they do at their job. They're just like looking at a screen with numbers, and they have to feel which numbers feel like they need to be gathered together. And so it's these weird concepts. But the thing I really like about this show, as opposed to some other mystery shows, is that they give you answers.
Yes.
Like, they don't keep you waiting 4 seasons to find out what's going on. They'll answer questions, and then they'll give you new questions to ask to keep you engaged, which is so much fun.
What I do think with season 1 versus season 2, it's kind of familiar to me to Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, where Part 1 is very much setting up the pieces, and season 2 is all payoff.
Let's
for
go.
those moments. Let's go. I'm really excited for people to check that out. But I have to say, this is one that even our own Nisha DeGaring said, it took the entire season for me to get into it. It took the last episode for me to get into this. But I promise that if you do go down that road and watch the first season, it's going to be so rewarding once you get to season 2. And I know that's a tough sell for some people, a whole series, but it's not that it's not entertaining. It's just a lot of building.
Yes, it's a lot of world building. Ben Stiller writes and directs about half of the episodes. He's an incredible director. Like, some of these, again, on a technical level, some of the things that they do on a technical scale are just unbelievable. Like, I can't wrap my head around how they do some of these shots. But it's interesting, smart sci-fi, and there is a payoff. I was hooked from the beginning. I have heard others say it took me a while, or it took me several tries to get through it. But trust me, it's definitely worth getting through.
I wish I could spoil things. I wish I could just talk about it for forever. But this is one
your
where
brain
you
is
really,
severed.
Yeah.
As a critic, you have to sever that.
The minute I walk out from the theater, from the TV room, I'm just forget everything. This is absolutely a see it, though. You're giving me a see it?
100% see it.
All right. Well, also on Apple TV Plus, this just came out today. 2-episode premiere is The Studio. This is Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, who have been a dynamic pair as far as streaming content is concerned. The Boys, Invincible, just incredible writing. This is a take. It's a love letter, but it's also a bit of a hate letter to Hollywood about Seth Rogen, who is newly hired as an executive that's getting big IP and properties and is having to balance the creativity of building your art versus the monetization of a studio paying for your art and wanting certain things. It's that old thing that we always see in films, but never have I felt like it's actually done it more accurately and satirically than with this.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've had movies and TV shows spoofing Hollywood before. You've got The Player. You've had a bunch of different ones. The Coen brothers have done that before. But this one is so smart. And sometimes with these satires, you get a little bit too inside baseball. It's a little bit too on the nose, and only the people who really work in Hollywood or really pay attention to TVs and movies and how they're made are going to get these jokes. And this is not that, luckily. This is enough where the movie geek can still watch it and enjoy it, and it's funny. And the way that they set up some of these jokes and the casting, oh my gosh, and the cameos.
We have to talk about the cameos.
We have cameos that are just unreal.
It's an insane amount of cameos. And the further along you go, so I was able to watch the whole season.
Okay.
And I think you can too. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
It's so clever. And honestly, shocking, the people that they bring in, just as quick little cameos. The first episode, minor spoiler, Martin Scorsese is involved in it, and just what he's able to do with the moments that he has. In the second episode, Ron Howard appears. I think it's incredibly funny. It reminds me a bit of a Curb Your Enthusiasm mixed with Arrested Development, but set on the Hollywood sphere. All of the performances, Ike Barinholtz, Catherine Hahn,
Catherine O'Hara, which I absolutely love, is fantastic.
Do you think that this is something that people that just aren't interested in Hollywood would still be interested in? I
think so. Like I said, I don't feel like it's too much insider info, and just the cleverness of it, especially in episode 2, because I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but episode 2 is all about them trying to get this shot at magic hour. And magic hour is when the sun is setting right before it goes down. You have a very limited amount of time to get the shot. And Seth Rogen, as the producer, can't help but meddle. So he can't help but meddle. You get these screw-ups and these problems, and it's stuff that people can relate to. Like he gets into wardrobe, he gets his car is parked in the wrong place, stuff that general people can understand and relate to, and how that relates to the filmmaking process. But very, very funny show. And Martin Scorsese, if you've never seen Marty act, if you only know him as a director, he's a really good actor as well. So this is a fun series. I'm in love with this. I can't wait to see what else happens.
I think everybody needs to see this one. It definitely is a love letter to Hollywood. And I love these types of stories where you see a creative desperate to create, yet fighting it constantly. There was another show that came out this year called The Franchise.
Yes.
That was on Max. Very similar vibes, but they're focused on like an MCU type superhero franchise, not an entire studio. So it's exciting to see them go more in like, we're not talking about capes. We're talking about like just Hollywood, the state of Hollywood in general. Everything, the warts, the blemishes, but the highs too.
And like you said, trying to chase that prestige picture, trying to get that Emmy, trying to get that Oscar, trying to land that big actor into your movie, and you're thinking about you're going to get Brad Pitt and you get Steve Buscemi, and how that all works, and how you have to handle the egos, and how you have to handle all of these things.
The self-realization that none of it's very important.
Right.
Like that's probably the funniest part of the whole thing. There's this episode where they're like, you know, we're doctors, right? Like we do different things. We actually save lives. We're doing more stuff. And I think that's the perfect segue.
At the end of the day, we're telling stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
This new story, though, The Pitt, it just finished yesterday. This is on Max. It's 13 episodes.
No, there's 15.
15? There's more?
We've got 2 more to go.
Okay, give the pitch for this, though.
So this is a TV series produced by Noah Wyle. He is coming back from, of course, people know him from ER, and he said for a while he was not going to do medical dramas anymore because he was burned out from them. But he said, especially during the pandemic, he realized these people are risking their lives and they have incredible stories to tell. So this is 15 episodes, 13 are out, so we've got 2 more weeks to go. April 10th is the final episode, but each episode is set for 1 hour in the ER, starting in the morning. So it is one day. This whole thing is taking place in one day. Each episode is 1 hour. Noah Wiley, and then a bunch of people that are fairly new, fairly unknown. And he said that he wanted to cast the young people and give them a shot to come up and earn their stripes as actors, which mirrors the story because this is a teaching hospital. So you have a lot of doctors who are first-year med students who are just starting the residency. You have other doctors who have been there for 2 or 3 years, and how they all have to work together in a very dynamic and ever-changing environment because they're getting, as one point they say, the average ER doctor sees a new patient every 3 to 5 minutes.
Yes, and that's the challenge of this. It's based in Pittsburgh. That's why they call the ER den the Pitt with 2 T's. This is also, a lot of people have compared this to The Bear, but for medical dramas, where it's not like they're doing one story each episode. There's many different stories that are stretched across this entire season. The way that they delve into these characters, but also kind of addressing stuff that's happened in our real life. There's a big storyline that involves COVID-19 and the pressure and the stress that was put on all of our hospital workers and our essential workers. I really love that they're able to delve into the realism of that and show that this is not over.
It took a toll.
Mentally, it took a toll on so many people, and so many people lost so many loved ones. But seeing how determined a medical team can be and how much that they care about what they're doing.
And these actors had to do medical boot camp before they shot this. And so they spent 2 weeks getting very intense training on how to place the instruments correctly, how to say specific words correctly, because this is very fast-paced dialogue, because in the ER, you've got to know your stuff. The doctor is screaming out orders to you, and you've got to be on it immediately. I've seen a lot of reviews where people are saying, who are medical professionals, who are like, this is the best medical show I've ever seen. Like, they get almost everything right, which is a real fun way to do it. I'm not a medical doctor TV guy. That's not my genre. I'm absolutely hooked with this show. It is compelling, great storylines, anything from teen pregnancy to a guy getting hit by a car, somebody getting pushed into the subway. You have all these different stories being told, and then the stories within the doctors themselves, which is really compelling and interesting.
Right. I would give this a see it as well. I'm not necessarily into the medical drama style, but House was one of my favorite things. I think Scrubs, though, it's completely
Scrubs
different.
is different.
Great comedy, loved it. I still think this is a see it, though, and one that you guys can catch up on and finish up all together at the end when when episode 15 comes out.
Yeah.
So make sure that you see
weeks.
it. That's a real stacked list for people to watch this weekend.
And episodes 12 and 13, Noah Wiley is going to get a lot of talk for Emmy consideration. He is fantastic in those 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we didn't mention that maybe goes without saying is that they're not just like cutting away to gore stuff. They're focusing in on it. There's going to be very, very medical.
It's very.
Some
they
things
do not shy away from.
Some of the practical effects are very realistic to the point where it's like, wow, I need to not be eating while I watch the show. So that's the warning. Make sure the kids go to bed first.
Nope, not going to watch that part. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that about does it for the See It or Skip It. Next week is going to be huge because we're talking about Minecraft. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Movies That Make Us, moviesthatmakeus.com. We have a weekly podcast and my reviews, and then just on TikTok, you can find me, Tracy Mangum, Instagram, Mangum Tracy. Just search, it's a very unique name, so if you search for me, you'll find me.
And of course on Good Things Utah with
on
Friday
Good Things
Flicks.
Utah, Friday Flicks.
Make sure that you go to abc4.com, click the shows tab and See It or Skip It, where you can check out all of the interviews and reviews that we've done over the past couple of years now. Thank you so much as always for watching. We look forward to next week, and we'll see you at the next review.
Or skip it. See it 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 or skip it.